You know, thinking about the history in Montana and history of Billings in particular, this has been a cultural place that people from not just Billings have come, but from all over have come for almost 100 years.
Constructed in 1907, the Babcock Theater was a bold landmark in the heart of downtown Billings. But the Babcock we see today is just the latest iteration. See, in 1935, excited patrons at the boxing matches defied the orders of the fire chief and continued to smoke while cheering, leading to a massive fire and burning the Babcock to the ground.
2.0, yep. So 1.0, none of us basically would remember. There's a few of us out there, I guess, that would. But the original Babcock burned down within, I think, about 10 or 15 years of its original building. And they rebuilt the Babcock. It's the same location. It was just oriented differently at that point in time. So they changed the orientation on it, and they also changed the entrance. It used to be on North Broadway. Now it's on 2nd Avenue North, and it's been that way since about the 50s.
The new version of the Babcock stood proud alongside the Babcock building, offering entertainment, business space, and some much-needed residential space.
It was a really iconic corner. The whole thing had been an iconic corner, and this whole strip had been iconic. There's about 25 apartment buildings upstairs, so it's a needed area for housing downtown.
The 700-seat Babcock was rolling, but the owner at the time neglected to invest in the theater like others might have hoped.
Basically got boarded up and shut down for almost 15 years until a group out of Butte, Montana came in and just asked Ruth Moss if they could do boxing in here, and she hadn't really thought about it, and it was pretty little effort, and they were like, hey, we'll fix the roof, we'll fix the hole in the roof, we'll fix a few things, and they put boxing in here. So the Babcock was closed for a pretty considerable amount of time until it opened up only for boxing. It was Thursday night fights, I believe is what the name of it was, but every Thursday there would be boxing down here.
It was time for a bold decision. An intervention of sorts. Do we want to save the Babcock or finally close the curtains on it?
It took the kind of the foresight of 4 people. It was Mike Matthew, Kay Foster, and Kim and Don Olson to negotiate a deal with the city of Billings to purchase the building. The city of Billings purchased the building, and then they did a tremendous amount of remodeling on all the spaces. And then the theater, after a certain time period, went back to the city of Billings.
That vote of confidence was all that was needed for another group to come in and try to bring the theater back to life one more time.
So Babcock Theater is the largest historic theater in the state of Montana, single screen historic theater. And we, as Art House Billings, reopened it back in 2018 because we figured it was the gem of the city. It's got that big marquee. It looks great just to have that lit up, and it's almost like moths to a flame. People gravitate towards it. And we wanted to reopen it as the gem of a movie palace, you know, the kind of place that you don't see very often anymore.
On their first day open, the Babcock was sold out of tickets. There was still fight left in this old building, and those who came were transported back to another time.
People talk a lot about there used to be like a Saturday morning program where, you know, kids could come and watch cartoons in the mornings. And so a lot of people that were young in maybe the 70s remember being dropped off just to watch cartoons here at the Babcock while mom and dad went shopping or other errands.
But it's no secret, there is still work to be done here. This renaissance is not finished.
Since about mid-50s, this is kind of what it's been, and it is definitely showing its age. We, as Art House, have, when we reopened in 2018, we signed a 15-year lease in order to try and, you know, do a little bit of rehabilitation on it as we're able to.
Some might ask, why keep fighting to keep this old building up when the work to get it and keep it there seems so difficult?
Well, I mean, it's definitely a distinct part of Billings. You know, that's the reason it needs to be preserved. There's certain iconic landmarks in this town that need to be preserved instead of knocked down. I think a lot of communities in the 80s, I mean, there was a talk, and we should be glad that this is here, but there was a talk about a gigantic mall on this stretch of here in the 80s where they were going to tear down everything on North Broadway and put in this super mall because that was the wave of the future. The Babcock Theater is uniquely Billings.